Hello, my friend. If you are watching this video, it is my perspective that you have chosen on some level to shift a very sticky pattern in your life, something that has been persistent for a very significant amount of time. And through the course of this video, I perceive that if you choose to stay, you will receive certain perspectives that will aid you in that process. I'm Danielle. I connect with alchemists, creators, teachers such as yourself as you step through the process of remembering how deeply empowered you are so you could live your most satisfying mythical life right now. Now, I love doing this, facilitating this, being this through a combination of sharing these conversations and also living these ways in my life day to day. Because from my perspective, the most powerful teachings are the ones that we each embody. Now, you in your life are embodying certain teachings. And as such, certain patterns are coming up at this time in your life for review, so to speak. And what I mean by review is they are smacking you right in the face in life and saying, hey, this is going on. And you'll know this because there may be things that perhaps on some level you thought you had resolved or you had completed, but it's coming up for you right now. And so the first thing I offer to you is there is no need for shame or guilt about that. Every single one of us is being provided with an opportunity to see our patterns and patterning. Patterns and patterning are not inherently good or bad, right or wrong. They're just patterns. It's our own judgment and perspective that puts a label of good or bad, right or wrong on any specific pattern we're having. And of course, if you're not particularly enjoying it, if you're not having fun in the experience of the pattern that you're living, then it's much simpler to give it a label of, oh, that's bad, or that's negative, or I don't like it. Now, what I offer as an idea and as a perspective is many of us have been conditioned through our lives, through our parents, through our stories, through our media, through our communities, through any number of ways. And consciously or unconsciously, you may be aware of this patterning in your life. But I find, when we feel very strong emotions about situations or ideas in our lives, it's often coming from a belief or a perspective. I find beliefs and perspectives are helpful as long as they are helpful. It's the way I would term it. And if we have a belief or perspective that is perpetuating a experience of life that leads to feelings of stuckness, stagnation, or perhaps even more negative experiences, then it's an opportunity for us to examine that belief. Now, it's not a failing to have a stuck belief. In fact, that belief may have been a powerful ally for a long, long time. And you might now be at a phase in your life where that belief has an opportunity to be shifted, but perhaps you had not been offered the tools or the perspectives to shift it. And hey, baby, on this channel, that's what we're all about. So, a big path. Is it a big path? Let's say this, an opportunity that you have. If you've observed something like this in your life, where you're like, yeah, I'm feeling complete with this. An opportunity you have at this moment is multifold. First, as mentioned, you have the permission, you can give yourself the permission to release any shame or guilt about how you should feel, how you should be, and what you should be doing. Any of those things are stories based on a fixed perspective. No matter how convincing the story is, it's a story. They are absolutely stories. And we are allowed to examine stories and see if they are still true for us or not at any given moment. And if a story feels very sticky if it feels challenging to challenge it, then it's an opportunity for us to get curious inside and say, what is it about this story I feel the need to defend so much? Because oftentimes, stories that we feel we need to defend are actually acting as protectors on some level. Oftentimes, that means that there is something hidden behind the story that we either don't feel capable of dealing with or facing, or perhaps we feel that it might be too destructive to our lives. Maybe it's another way of saying feeling not capable of facing. Now, something important to remember is a lot of times we stored those feelings when we were children or when we didn't feel we had the tools to face those things. It is my experience in this now moment that you have access to the tools that you may need, if you do need them, to face any challenges, any stories that may be stored and hidden at this time. Now, I invite you to explore that for yourself and feel within yourself if that is true for you. And the way you can feel this and discern this is you take a few deep breaths. Breaths are lovely. They're like opening the windows to the self. You know, you got stuffy energy air in there. You just breathe right in and hand over the heart. I like to put the hand over the heart if that feels good to you. And then what I say is, I would like to know the truth on this more than anything else in the world. And when that statement is true to me, and I feel that statement's true to me because I feel relaxed in my body, I then say, what is the truth of this? Is this a path I would like to take? Yes or no? And if it's a yes, then it feels really peaceful, maybe a bit expansive, maybe a little bit exciting or interesting. And if it's a no, it feels contracting. Now, this is what I'm describing to you as my experience, as an opportunity to explore. The thing is, this may feel very different for you. However, I love sharing some of my own experiences and what I have encountered because it might provide you with breadcrumbs on what works excellently for you. Now, as you explore and ask, is this right for me or not? Coming back to our original topic, what you are checking with is this the right time? Is this the resonant time for me to explore some of these stories, some of these potential hidden places, some of these potential judgments and what they might be protecting? Because if you can give yourself permission to do that, then what happens is you have so much access to your truth and you have so much access to the world itself, because it might surprise you how much we consciously or unconsciously might close off for ourselves when we feel consciously or unconsciously incapable on some level of facing an element in life. And so we have a story or a guardian or something in place to divert our attention, to shut us down, to say, no, that's bad. And this is one reason we don't shame or blame it. We don't shame and blame ourselves for having that. We don't shame and blame that part of ourselves because it's only just functioning the way it was set up. And you see, when we stop shaming and blaming it, it becomes more receptive. It becomes more open and it becomes more accessible to us. Our lives become more accessible to us. And what I say to people, like, well, gosh, now I feel terrible for feeling shame and blame. Okay. And then from that place, no shame or blame about feeling shame and blame. And if you feel shame and blame about feeling shame and blame, no shame and blame about that. Find the place where you can go, all right, well, I feel shame and blame about that, but I don't feel shame and blame about feeling shame and blame. Find the place. It exists. It exists right now. That's the thing. We don't need to wait. We don't need to delay. And that's the next thing. You don't need to wait or delay to do any of this exploration, to do any of this. Right now, these elements are accessible to you right now. And any story to the contrary of that is, again, likely a part of you protecting you from potentially needing to explore change in the unknown. And so then here's the next one. The change and the unknown is ultimately your friend. Being able to sit through discomfort without knowing is one of the powerful tools of mastery that you can enjoy and employ in your life. Many of us live in a world and a society of instant gratification. As you sit with yourself and allow yourself to feel uncomfortable without judging that you feel that way, without immediately trying to fix it, without grasping for something, without thinking you have to manifest, without telling yourself you have to do something, you just be there. Sure, it may feel a little uncomfortable at first, but eventually something opens up. And the key here is you're not sitting there in order to try and get something to open up. You're simply being there, because by being there in the discomfort and in the unknowing, you are connecting yourself with your greatest, deepest capacity for existing in this reality. I know that sounds very grand. Oh, why not let it sound a bit grand? After all, we're all putting on a bit of a show here. Every single one of us right now is living out our reality. And right now, wherever you're at, there is a portal. Right now, no matter what your life situation is, there is something you can connect with right now to be even more clear about any patterning that's ready to shift, to be even more clear about the teacher you are, to grant yourself forgiveness, to grant yourself no shame, blame, to be present. And if you're feeling any kind of feelings, you just sit with those. You can sit with those if you like. And you can say, okay, and then now what? This is, if you're watching the video at this point, it's my perspective that you have the capacity for this level of mastery. And it is a type of mastery. But don't let the word mastery fool you into thinking it needs to be something complex. Mastery is quite simple. It's just consistent. It's just consistency. Most mastery is just consistency. And so, my fellow master at play, I thank you for taking some moments together in this conversation, for going deep. Because I know at the core of each of our beings, I know from this perspective that every single one of us that makes this choice to be embodied, meaning being present without trying to wiggle out of that, without trying to mask it with something, and being able to choose our stories and our focuses, is allowing us to, in each moment, write a future that is the greatest delight of our individual and unified hearts. And so, thank you for choosing to explore this. If something here has resonated with you, I invite you to leave a comment. Please do feel invited to like, share, subscribe. Maybe there's someone to send this to. And if you feel inspired, I have some offerings as always in my description. And I invite you to always trust your gut on that. And so with that, my friend, I thank you for another incredible conversation together. And as always, I'm looking forward to our next one.